Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. Welcome to Wicked Wednesday, where we discuss all the new comics that's coming out this week. Every Wednesday is like Christmas for us nerds because that's when the new comics come out. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. But here's some other information first. I did a video previously about the Weapon H character, which popped up in the Weapon X storyline. And obviously what I had to say was very controversial because I didn't pull any punches in my disdain that Marvel is doing too many mashup characters. Some agree with me, some disagree with me, but everyone's welcome to their opinion. If you missed it, be sure to go back and watch that video. It was released on August 31st, 2017. I don't want a YouTube channel that's full of yes men. If you have an opinion that differs from mine, don't be afraid to speak up. We're going to keep the language PG-13 though, and we're not going to attack other members personally, but spirited debate on opinions and positions are welcome. And by the way, don't forget to click on the bell. It will notify you when a new video is published. But for now, let's get into New Comic Day. And DC Comics has given us Bane Conquest, number 5 of a 12-part miniseries. Catwoman shows up again. They have a common enemy and they might have to team up to take them down. The only problem is they can't stand each other. Next up is Batman number 30, and this is an interlude of the War of Jokes and Riddles, and the emphasis is put on Kite Man. Tom King is really killing this as a writer, and Batman is an every week pickup that it comes out. Next up is Dark Knight's Metal, number 1 of a 6-part miniseries, which is going to a second print. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo unite once again. Their run on the Batman New 52 character was phenomenal. So whenever they work together, it's going to be a big deal. They are comic book royalty. Next up is Bombshells United number 1. This is a series that takes place in 1943, so it focuses on Wonder Woman in World War II and what she was doing at that time. But seriously, it's the Terry Dodson covers which sell this. There's also a cover B variant by Babs Tarr shown here. She got famous on Batgirl, but she's currently doing Motor Crush. Next up is Dastardly and Muttley number 1 of a 6-part miniseries. Muttley was probably one of my favorite characters back on the Hanna-Barbera cartoons of the 60s. He was always scheming and conniving, and that silly little laugh he always used to do. This is great nostalgia for people who love the cartoon like I did. Next up is Deathstroke number 23, and this is part 3 of the Valiants storyline. And this is one of the best covers of the year. That looks absolutely epic. If you haven't been paying attention, Deathstroke is less villain and more anti-hero now, and he's wearing white and black, and he has formed a team which includes some of his own children. But from what the covers show, there apparently is some internal turmoil there. It's raining pretty hard outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that rain pick up on my microphone. Anyway, Harley Quinn number 27 also drops this week, and this is part 1 of a new storyline called Vote Harley. She's tired of the corrupt mayor, so she may run for mayor of New York herself. Of course, the Frank Cho cover B variants continue, and we get Yoga Harley with her cute little wiener dog. I'd kill to see a whole book that was drawn by Frank Cho on Harley Quinn. Even better if it was a team-up book with her starring opposite Liberty Meadows, which is a Frank Cho creation. Hey, Frank and DC, let's make that happen. Next up is Superman 30, and you're probably wondering, why is Superman dressed like that? Wicked Wednesday is not the format to explain what's going on here in detail, but I'll give you an overview. It looks like Superman is possessed by Parallax, and the Yellow Lantern and Sinestro shows up here as well. Basically, it's an ancient entity that's powered by fear. This might be the closest thing that DC has that matches the Venom symbiote. The first full appearance of the Parallax is in Green Lantern Volume 3, number 50, back in 1994, and turns Hal Jordan evil. The possession of Superman with the Parallax starts in Superman number 29. That's an issue you might want to go back and get and hold on to. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to. I know that some of you are not too happy that I'm so critical of Marvel, but some of their decision making is just dreadful. I have no choice but to tell the truth and call it as I see it. I'm not trying to start a DC Marvel war. All I want to see is good comics being off. I could care less which publisher is putting it out. If you've been paying attention to the channel, about 60% of what I show here is going to be indies anyway, because I think they're doing a better job overall. In saying that, let's see what Marvel is offering, and that's going to be Generations, Iron Man and Ironheart number 1. They're doing this with both Thor and Hulk and Wolverine and all their classic characters, and teaming them up with the new characters that are headlining these titles. I don't think I've ever seen so much unfair backlash at a new character other than Riri Williams. She's supposed to be a 15-year-old African-American female from Chicago that goes to MIT because she's freaking brilliant. While she's there, she stops going to class and re-engineers one of Iron Man's armors. Just like with Thor, Hulk, and the others, they had to do some type of plot device to get rid of the main character so they could let these new characters headline it for a while. So they can build up their name recognition, and when the legacy original character comes back, they can spin off the new character and everyone will know who they are. Spider-Man has several spin-off characters with their own titles: Spider-Gwen, Silk, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ben Reilly the Scarlet Spider. So Marvel is using the brand recognition name of their original characters to help build off and spin off these new characters. So everybody needs to stop hating on Riri Williams and the other characters. Iron Man will be back with his own title. She will have her own title called Ironheart, which will appeal to young girls and African Americans. I probably will talk about diversity more in its own video at another time. I think a lot of people are going way over the top and whining about it and complaining, but it's not that big of a deal. Next up is Generations, Phoenix and Jean Grey #1, which is going to a second print, which is a variant by Matina. You knew this was going to sell out. People just love this character. Jean Grey is one of the most easily identifiable characters in the X-Men universe and probably of all comics. Good job on this, Marvel. Thumbs up. Next up is the Planet Hulk Omnibus. This is a collection of all the issues that cross over with that storyline. Of course, Hulk 88 through 105, but also the Fantastic Four, Hulk Gladiator, New Avengers, Illuminati, The Amazing Fantasy #15, Volume 2. The whole complete story here is retailing for $100, but Things from Another World is selling it for $80. As you may already know, the Planet Hulk storyline is being incorporated within Thor Ragnarok, the live action movie. So if you got the cash and you have the time and you want to know more about Gladiator Hulk, then you should pick this up. Next up is Jessica Jones #12. I picked this up because I am absolutely in love with these watercolor covers by David Mack. On the interior is a much smaller story. She's not trying to save the world. She's just trying to exist on her block. Next up is Star Wars Darth Vader #5. This is Volume 2, by the way. Volume 1 went through 25 issues before they closed it and used it as a springboard to spin off Dr. Aphra. A lot of people didn't know that they have relaunched Darth Vader, so that's why all the print runs are low. So the first 3 issues all have gone to second prints. So that issue #3 second print comes out this week as well, and it looks like this. Other than the Terminator, can you think of a science fiction character that's more popular than Darth Vader ever? Next up is Star Wars Rogue One adaptation #6 of a 6-part miniseries. This is basically the movie broken down into 6 parts, told in a comic book format. They did this with The Force Awakens as well, and they'll keep doing it on future movies. It's free money because Star Wars fans buy everything Star Wars. It doesn't matter what it is. And a comic book, yeah, that too. Non-comic book buyers that like Star Wars will buy this. Next up is the Venomverse #1. You already know how I feel about this. Marvel and these mashups and venomizing everything, I'm just exhausted at this. But hey, as long as they're selling it, they'll keep on making it. Apparently somebody likes this because they're selling a lot of copies. Another reason why I'm so critical of Marvel is they're trying to exploit Todd McFarlane's name. They're using artwork that he did way back in the 1980s and remastering. And it's giving the impression that Todd McFarlane is doing new work and signed off on this, but he is not. It's one thing to do reprint comics of Todd McFarlane's best work, but to take old art and put it on a new variant cover and give the impression that it's new is very, very low on their part and just very dishonest. If you're a hardcore Marvel fan, you're probably giving me the thumbs down right now, but I think most people on here would probably agree with me. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. Next up is 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank #5 from Black Mass Studios. This is the critically acclaimed miniseries from Matthew Rosenberg, the same writer who gave us We Can Never Go Home. It's a crime caper involving 4 middle school kids. This miniseries has been plagued by delays, but the writer said he had to take some time off to help out family members. I understand that. Family first. Next up is Lazaretto #1 of a 5-part miniseries from Boom Studios. It's about a pandemic that strikes a dorm complex of a small college. It's a story that's similar to Lord of the Flies, but on a college campus. Next up is Fruit Ninja #1 from Dynamite Entertainment. This is based on the downloadable game. Dynamite Entertainment is very good about taking things from pop culture and adapting them for comic books. Hey, if you like the game, then buy the comic. Why not? Next up is Star Wars Adventures #1 from IDW Publishing. This is an all-ages story about Star Wars. It's going to concentrate on Rey's early adventures. I was under the impression that when Disney bought Star Wars, they would publish all the comics on Marvel, which is also owned by Disney, but apparently that's not the case. Next up is Made Men #1 from Onai Press. It's a story of a woman who's a Detroit special ops officer, but it turns out that she has a family secret that she's a Frankenstein, and she knows all of the family secrets. That's a pretty good premise and makes this worth checking out. Next up is The Evil Within from Titan Comics. This is a comic adaptation of a third-person survival horror video game from Tango Gameworks. If you know about the game and you can tell by the cover, then the body count and the blood is going to be like rivers of blood deep. Next up, and also from Titan Comics, is Millennium Girl #1, The Girl That Played with Fire. This is part 1 of a 2-part miniseries. This is part of their Hard Case Crime Division comic. It's the story of an anarchist hacker named Elizabeth Salanda, and she's on the run after being accused of triple murder. Next up is Stained #5 of a 5-part miniseries from 451 Media. This is the publishing company that's linked to director Michael Bay. This is the story of a female action hero that has enhancements that make her look something like RoboCop meets the Terminator. Next up is Lark's Killer #2, and this is from the same author who gave us Fables. And the cover is drawn by Jenny Frison, who's becoming a real star in this game. She has a regular gig with the Wonder Woman cover B variants. She also did a Black Panther variant shown here. Next up is Trump's Titans #1 from Keenspot Entertainment. Let's face it, the fact that Donald Trump is the president is comedy gold for a lot of people. So you knew that the comics were coming as well. In this series, he's going to be the most powerful being in the alt-right universe. Pre-sale, this is selling out left and right, so it could be a surprise hit. Next up, let's see what Image Comics is up to, and that's always something great. First up is Kingsman, The Red Diamond #1. A lot of people didn't know that Kingsman was actually a comic book before it was adapted into a movie, although loosely. The movie was a big hit, so they're having a sequel called The Golden Circle, and they're adding more star power to it like Channing Tatum. The comic is going to have a lot of variants, more variants than you expect from an Image comic, but this is Mark Millar tied to this. It's his baby, he's a big name, so they let him do whatever he wants to do. Kingsman works better as a film than it does for a comic. I just never really got into the comic that much. Next up is Motor Crush #6, which is returning after a summer hiatus. It's no secret I'm a big fan of this title. It's the story of an African-American female racer told 50 years in the future. It appeared to be real world, but issue #5 gave us some teasers that there may be some supernatural elements going on. The team that formerly used to work on New 52 Batgirl is in charge of this series, led by Babs Tarr, who made my list of one of the top 10 female artists in comics. Next up is Scales and Scoundrels #1. This kind of reminds me of How to Train Your Dragon, but with a female lead. The print run on this is going to be very low because it doesn't have any star names attached to it, so it could be a surprise hit. Next up is Seven to Eternity #9, the sci-fi action-adventure story, one of the bigger hits of 2016 from Rick Remender. Image has done tremendously well with sci-fi, and Rick deserves the success. He's a very talented writer. Next up is the Speculation Pick of the Week. And that's going to be The Walking Dead #171. What's so special about this is we have the introduction of a new character called the Princess. And there she is on the front cover toting a big gun and a very fabulous looking jacket. We really don't know that much about this character, about where she comes from, but apparently she's going to be killing people in style. Here's the thing, it's no secret that if a character is moved from the comics into the TV show, the first appearance of that character in the comics goes through the roof. So you should be buying this or multiple copies. The TV show does not appear it's going to go off the air anytime soon, and by the time they get to season 11, then she may show up. It's a high possibility, and for cover price, you can't beat it. Issue #100 has the second print variant of Negan on the cover, and it sells for a lot of money. As a read, pick this up. As a speculator, pick this up. It's for cover price, you can't beat it. It could pay off in the future, and more than likely it will. So get it, read it, put it away for a couple of years and see what happens. Next up, let's see what Valiant Comics is up to. And I repeat, you should be reading at least one of their titles. They are all really good. First up is Harbinger #7. This picks up in the Massacre storyline right after issue #5 when one of the Harbinger renegades is killed. And in the Valiant universe, death is permanent. No one comes back. Speaking of issue #5, it's going to a second print, and this is where the action of that person dying happens in the first place. No spoilers on who it is, you'll just have to pick it up. Next up is Secret Weapons #1, which is going to a third printing. I've been telling you about this miniseries. It's absolutely fantastic. The villain turned hero Livewire has to save some other superpowered teens who got very minimal powers. When the first print came out, I named it the pick of the week for June 28th. So go back and watch that video released on June 27th, 2017. You know the drill. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, give it a thumbs up, and share these videos on social media so others learn about comic power. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.